Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Popcorn Bucket List, the podcast that keeps your movie bucket list up to date because those 1,000 movies to see before you die lists are just too daunting. I'm your host and resident gunslinging archaeologist, Gracie, and with me is Darrell, the Bill Murray to your Scarlett Johansson, and Sarah, a tiny fishy in the sea. How are y'all doing?
Doing
I'm
good here.
great.
Doing good, yeah.
Today we are getting all cozy. We're getting ready for the holidays. We even joked around saying this is our sweater episode or our PJ episode. So if you're listening, get your PJs on or put on your coziest sweater with coffee or your hot cocoa and your marshmallows. Throw some alcohol in there. I don't, do whatever as long as you're above the drinking age. No underage drinking here in this podcast. Thank you. Because the holidays are upon us. And yes, I know this episode is coming out around Thanksgiving, but I am already full blown holiday Christmas spirit. And because Thanksgiving is a terrible holiday and we can get on that later, but that's my opinion. And you don't have to at me. With the holidays coming up, we'll be eating a lot of comfort foods, but today we're talking about the movies that leave us with the same warm, full, and fuzzy feeling. Comfort is defined as a state of or the easing or what? This is a terrible sentence. Who wrote this? Oh, it's me. Comfort is the easing or alleviating of a person's feeling of grief and stress, which after a full year of craziness, that's exactly what we need. A little comforting. December is always like the comfort time. You're feeling nostalgic, you're getting all cozy, feeling like, thankful, all that stuff, getting ready for the end of the year. And what a good time to talk about our comfort films. Our comfort film is something we can, well, you know what? Pause. Let's talk about what we think comfort films are. Darrell, you want to go into comfort? Start talking, opening it up.
Yeah,
I'll just hog the whole first 10 minutes of the podcast.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. Cool. Yeah, so I think that comfort films are the movies that when you watch them, they make you feel obviously comfort, but they make you feel like safe, I guess. It feels like you can kind of they're not like super taxing. They're not really taxing on you emotionally. And if they make you emotional, it's like in a good way. It's like, yes, this is good. This is good. Puts you in like a nice kind of mellow state. Or like it can be cathartic. Like my choice is kind of cathartic, honestly. So I think that's kind of what comfort movies to me are. So it puts you in a mellow state that makes you think it's all gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right.
What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I think like comfort films for me feel familiar sometimes even after like the first watch. Like it feels like somewhere like you want to stay in or somewhere where you want to be or just like a story that you want to like envelop yourself in because it just brings you all those warm fuzzies.
I kind of wrote that, and this is going to sound scripted because I wrote it. So a comfort film is something we can turn on when we are having a bad day and we need an escape from all the world and the uncertainty in it. So with like the last 2 years, we don't need to harp on the pandemic, but there's been a lot of call for comfort in your, film watching. And I think that might have been, how I handled the pandemic a lot was watching all my comfort films, maybe rewatching some old ones, that kind of thing. But yeah, because we all have those movies that we want to turn on, after a bad day or maybe a rainy day film. Oh God, that was a weird way to say film. Or like a movie that puts us to sleep when we're having a restless night. And like Darrell said, even a movie that like makes you cry or feel all the feels, it makes you feel better later, that kind of, feeling. And I think it's an interesting topic because there's no bounds for what a comfort film is. I Googled top comfort films and there's 52 of them and they're all over the place. Like there's no rhyme or reason to that list, or 25 feel good films. Cause like what that could be something for anybody, I'm reading a list here and it's got The Rocketeer on it. And I'm like, what? Like that's crazy. And then I gotta look at Darrell's and I'm like, no, no, or Sarah's. Yeah, no, I'm looking at Sarah's and I'm like, not me. But like, that's okay because I'm not Sarah and I'm not Darrell. What makes them comfortable. That's a weird way of putting it.
What brings us comfort.
Yeah, what brings you
Comforted.
comfort or comforted or warm and fuzzy is not going to be what makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So I think we should dive into it, talk about a couple of our favorites, maybe we'll go into like the idea that we grow out of comfort films maybe a little bit later, but who wants to go first? Who wants to talk about their bad day comfort movie?
I guess I can start. I guess because actually to put it that way, I think I have one specific film and I have one kind of film that works for me on a bad day, and one of them is Lost in Translation, which I know sounds like the wrong answer because
not judging you. This is a safe space.
I mean, because if you've seen Lost in Translation, it's basically about Scarlett Johansson in Japan, and she's there with her husband, but her husband is working, and she's starting to just feel super, super lonely because clearly there's a disconnect between them. They're just not relating the way that they should be. And Bill Murray is also in Japan. He's playing an old actor who his wife is stateside, and he basically can't connect with her either because she just kind of doesn't really care in the same way. And so basically it's two couples who are falling out of love with their respective partners, and they kind of find each other and just have not a romantic bond, but a bond that they need to just survive. And it's one of those movies that's really it's funny, but it's also really depressing at times. But that's kind of the reason why I like it, because it makes me, because at the end of the movie you kind of feel yeah, you'll be okay though. This can't last forever, but it's you will be okay. There's something about that just is very, very comforting to me, that it takes you through that feeling of it's why are things not really working out? It's it's kind of like a curve. It's just going down, down, down. Why are things not working out? Why do I just not feel right? Then you meet someone and you feel a little better, and you wish it could last forever, but you realize even when they're gone, you will be fine. Mm-hmm. So it makes me feel very, again, it's depressing, but it's kind of cathartic, because it's nice to see, other people feel that way too sometimes, and they survive that. So I think that's one of them. The other kind of Marvel movies, so that's a little more straightforward,
drastically different.
Yeah, Marvel movies, not all of them, but I remember specifically I was feeling really depressed one day. I think it was while I was still in school, and I was I just didn't know what to do, and I was you know what, I'm just gonna go buy a couple of movies. So I went to Walmart and I bought I bought Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Avengers: Age of Ultron. And I was I just didn't have them, so I was this is before Disney Plus, and so I was well, I'm just gonna go buy these two because I don't have them. And I think I watched Age of Ultron, and I just felt so much better, just because it was just nice to watch just heroes being heroes, I guess, just fighting robots and stuff. It's so dumb, and it's so easy to ingest. It just feels good. And you watch Winter Soldier, and it's just this is actually a legitimately really, really good.
That's a good movie.
It's a really good movie. I like Age of Ultron, but Winter Soldier is just still
different level.
Up here. If you're listening, my hand's going into the ceiling. It's up here in terms of Marvel films.
I feel you on the Marvel film one. I get a 30-minute lunch break at work, and my job is a very high caliber, high stress. I don't know how to explain it. Whatever, but I throw on I'm doing a rewatch of Marvel films. So I started on Iron Man. I just finished Iron Man, and now I'm on Iron Man 2. And yeah, you're right. It kind of is it's not something I have to think about hardcore. It's not, I'm just appreciating, Robert Downey Jr. making terrible decisions and remembering that Mickey Rourke is the bad guy in Iron Man 2. And I'm oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what I
but
love
yeah,
about the early ones, because like in the earlier films before
they
basically
became a cinematic universe.
yeah, before like Endgame and all like the really really big Marvel
Mm.
films. Basically everything before Civil War was like, here are just some movies we're making. We don't know if this is gonna work at all. So here's Mickey Rourke. Tell me what you think.
And is it
Sam
Sam
Rockwell
Rockwell? Yeah,
playing the
is
best character who we never see again. He's
never
so
see
good.
again. I'm
He's
like,
so good in
what? I
that.
forgot he was in this movie. But yeah, that Lost in Translation is an interesting one because that was a film I saw like a long time ago, like I don't know when, but I get it confused, and it's the name, I think. I get it confused with the Tom Hanks movie, where he's stuck in the airport, the terminal.
Oh, The Terminal. I watched
Yeah.
that for the first time last week,
And it
actually.
is nowhere near the same
They are not the
movie.
same movie, but they both have like, I guess, an older guy and a younger woman.
I
Just
guess I
in
don't
the
know.
same
And so
space.
when you wrote it, I was like, that's a weird comfort movie.
It's funny though. It's a really good movie though. It's really
Yeah.
funny. So
I don't know. That's I don't remember a lot about Lost in Translation, so I would have to go um rewatch it. But yeah, that was one of those movies that I definitely saw and then like cataloged it away and never thought about it again. So I don't know. I'll have to go rewatch it. What about you, Sarah? Have you seen Lost in Translation?
I have, but it has been so long that I don't really remember it. Like, yeah, it definitely deserves a rewatch. I need to give it one.
I saw it for the first time like maybe 4 years ago. So
Mhm.
that's one reason why it's so fresh in my mind, because I basically just saw it.
Sorry, the dog walked into your
He opened your door.
for our audio listeners, Darrell's dog just walked into his room
Calm
and
down,
Darrell
Bex.
didn't even notice.
Well, I have the headphones on. I can't hear. Now she's excited. Now she's
Oh,
losing
there's
her
two.
mind. Here's the other dog.
Ew.
Here's Cody. Neither of these dogs are mine. These are my roommate's dogs.
Oh my gosh, they're
As
so
you can
excited.
tell, yeah, Bex has the zoomies. She's going crazy. And now Cody's just gonna be a good boy, just like sit here. And please don't knock down my sound stuff. Please don't. I know it's tempting.
There's Darrell's
Little
roommate.
puppy. Come on, Cody. Bye, puppies. So yeah, that was the dogs.
I love it. Well, Sarah, do you want to talk about one of your like bad day comfort films?
Yeah. I think like my number one just feel good, make me happy movie is Ponyo, by Hayao Miyazaki. It's, if you haven't seen it, it's kind of based off of The Little Mermaid, but it's like a much younger girl, and she meets like a boy, and she like wants to be like on the land with him, a lot like Little Mermaid, but like it's absolutely gorgeous. Like every frame of that movie is so beautiful. All of like the backgrounds are like hand done watercolor, and like you can just really feel it when you watch it, I think, which is like one of the reasons I love it so much, is I feel like you can just see the love and care that it went into it, and like the colors are so beautiful, and the story is just so adorable and like happy and sweet. Like it's very much a kids movie, and the theme song, which is what I was kind of making fun of in my intro there, is it's obnoxiously childish, but that movie just like makes me smile and just warms me. And I think I'm gonna just mention Fantastic Mr. Fox along with it for the same reason, because I think it's a beautiful story, but also just like I feel like the love and care that went into like making that movie can be seen while you're watching it like so vividly, and that just like brings me great joy.
I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I haven't seen Ponyo actually.
Neither have I,
That
actually.
that's one that like I think I just missed. I remember it being advertised a lot and then just never. I think I went to a Jonas Brothers concert And they were advertising. It was like one of those like repeating advertisements for before the concert. And I kept going, why are they advertising this movie? Like, this has nothing to do with the Jonas Brothers. Come to find out, Sarah just let me know that the little Jonas guy, the little one,
Frankie,
thank you, was in it. And yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So that question in the back of my mind that's been there since 2008 was definitely answered for me. But Fantastic Mr. Fox, I love. I don't know if I would call it a comfort film for me, but that's a great movie. That one's just so clever, and it's probably my favorite George Clooney performance. So I'm not a big George Clooney fan, but like he's great in that film, and the acting is just so phenomenal, and then it's just beautiful. That one's a good one. Darrell, what about you?
Oh yeah, I haven't watched it all the way through in a while. I remember I think I went on a work trip like last year and it was on TV and I watched like half of it. But I do love that movie. It is really good. Like I said, I haven't watched it all the way through in a while. I want to watch it again because every time I watch it, I see something new. Because I remember the first time I saw it was like basically like right after it came out on like DVD or something. And like since then, I've only caught like glimpses of it. I'm just like, what is this movie? It's like I've seen this movie, but I'm still like surprised that this exists. I don't know. Like Wes Anderson's such an interesting director when it comes to his animated stuff because like I've seen Isle of Dogs a number of times, so I remember it really well. But I feel like
Isle of Dogs is a hard one for me to watch. I don't know.
Oh,
why.
is it really?
I think it's a concept of abandoned dogs, and I'm depressed, and then and then I just get really upset. So,
yeah, I mean, like Fox going in and just like stealing stuff is a little more palatable.
Is Fantastic Mr. Fox is a book? I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it's a Roald Dahl book. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Interesting.
That makes so much sense, though.
That's why it's so weird.
It was published in 1970. Wow. Interesting. That like changes the whole movie for me. I feel like it makes a lot more sense.
I mean, it definitely fits Wes Anderson's MO.
Mm-hmm.
Just weird in 70s, basically.
I guess I can go. So I have like weird, like I have very specific, like I have rainy day comfort films. I don't know if you guys have this, but like, and then I have like when I'm having a really bad day or I'm not feeling good, comfort films. But like my bad day comfort film, like when I'm just like not having it anymore and I'm like, work was terrible, everybody's making me mad, just like I can't handle it. I turn on The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and I just watch that because it makes me happy. And that film, I love, the feel goodness of that movie. I love the humor. It has everything for me. It has, gunfights and, history and great music and just witty dialogue. And yeah, The Mummy is definitely like I just want to escape for a little bit. And I always wanted to be an archaeologist. So like that was definitely probably a contributing factor of why I love that film, because it just gives me like little like, oh, this is what I want to do. And I'm 27 years old and I still wish I was an archaeologist in Egypt, finding mummies in the tomb. But yeah, Brendan Fraser's just a joy, and I just love watching him, and he has like a warm fuzzy spot in my heart. But yeah, that's like my really feel good. The other one was Addams Family, the one that came out in 2019, the cartoon. I really love that cartoon. I don't know why, it just makes me so happy, and it's one of those films that I can watch over and over again. And I'm like, Russ is like, how many times can you watch this? And I'm like, I could watch it 100 more times. I love that film. But yeah, that's my have a bad day, really just need a pick me up, that kind of thing. But yeah, do you guys have rainy day movies? Is that like something, or am I weird?
I don't really have rainy day movies. I feel like
Like when it's
Like
storming.
if I'm literally thinking like if it's a rainy day, typically I'll be like, typically I read when it's like raining. It's just
Same.
it's
If I had to pick a movie, it'd probably be one of the Harry Potters, though.
that's a
Okay.
good one. Yeah, that would fit with rainy day to me.
Interesting. Yeah, I have a rainy day movie.
Well, as far as The Mummy goes, that's definitely one of my comfort films. I don't know if I
Yeah.
put it like at the top, but like my mom has been like into like Egyptian culture for so long. She loves all of them. And so I've seen The Mummy like probably dozens of times because of her. And it does hold a very special place in my heart. So it always like brings me a lot of joy when it's on. Because of that, because it makes me think of being young and like my mom's enjoyment of it so much.
Oh.
That and Stargate, which is also Egyptian but not very comforting. But yeah, I watch those a lot.
What about you,
Yeah,
Darrell?
I like The Mummy. I haven't watched it in a long time though. I only remember like specific scenes. I remember his mouth opening really wide. Yes, I remember that because I was like, that looks horrifying and awesome. And I remember him being like afraid of the cat and like flying out the window. Like,
Yeah.
he leaves. And the skeleton when he turns like he looks like a skeleton. I like that part.
For a 1999 movie, it's really well done. It's still, I mean, there are moments and times where you're like, ooh, that doesn't hold up CGI wise. And like this is early computer, like very early computer stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say probably the stuff that doesn't hold up anymore is the bugs, but that's okay. I'll let it slide. It still creeps me out when the bugs get under his skin. Ooh, I can't.
Yeah. It's not like the second one though, where you have The Rock as the Scorpion King, and he just like looks like
But it's
plastic.
great.
Basically.
It's so great. But yeah, so Sarah, for a rainy day, you would put on Harry Potter, and Darrell kind of agree with you on that one. I have a weird one. If it's like storming, and we live in Louisiana, so we get a lot of rainy Tuesdays and a lot of storms on Thursdays. Like a lot. Like when I say every other week, it's pretty much every other week. Torrential downpour, and I was so excited because I got to share this moment with Darrell. We were under, I think, a tornado warning when we watched this movie, and I was so happy because it just creates the best ambiance for this movie. And we watched it at work, which says a lot. It was probably a slow day at work, but we watched Twister, and it's one of my favorite movies to put on during a rain, like stormy weather, and which is, I don't know if that's morbid or not. But
I mean, it fits. It's with the theme. The theme is it's raining and terrible outside, so let's watch a storm film where people get yanked into the sky.
Love Twister. Like I quote it constantly. I'm always like, making references and no one gets it at work. And I'm like always going like, what is it? Rabbit is good, rabbit is wise. Like I'm always making little comments like that. And people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, never mind. Don't worry about it. But that film to me is like the epitome of comfort because I love when for rain. Maybe it's, I don't know. I think it's just one of those movies that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get all snuggled in and get wrapped up in a tornado. and that's just, I don't know. That's a rainy day movie for me. So but and I could probably talk about Twister a lot more, but I will withhold that. But I got to show Darrell that during the storm, and that made me so happy because it was the perfect ambiance. Because we were like watching it with surround sound or something, and it was storming outside, so it was like extra like. And we worked in a building that had a tin roof, so it was like and like making all the noises, and it was just great. It was great, and it would like thunder roll, and I was like, "Is that in the movie or is that?" So good. That movie's an interesting one because that came out in '95, I think. Yeah, 95, 96. And that's like some of like the original like CGI. Like that's computer graphics, like right when computer graphics were becoming computer graphics. Like some of those Twister effects are a mix between, stuff you could, make with a computer and practical. And I think that's what makes that movie so great because it doesn't focus on the tornado at all, like always. Like it's shots, parts of it, but it's mainly focused on people. And I love the ensemble cast of the whole thing. It just makes me feel like family, and I don't know. I wanted to be
Is
a
it a
storm chaser.
ride?
Twister used to be a ride, yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it is no
Universal.
longer a ride anymore. A podcast I listened to just covered it, and I'm very upset that it is no longer a ride.
It was a good ride though.
Because I
got on the ride,
to
but I didn't watch the movie before.
I haven't seen it.
It's what
But
it
I've
was, one
ridden
of
the
those like
ride.
40, like you were in the room, and like you know, a car comes in and like slams into a section of the
Getting
room.
rid of all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Jaws is gone.
I know.
Yeah,
I never got
really
to go
good.
on Jaws.
Oh, you never did?
No, I
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
I'm very depressed. I went on The Mummy though. That was fun.
That's still there, and
It
it's
is
probably
so
one
good.
of the best rides.
It's closing down for revamp, apparently, according to the last newsletter that I read. One of those like ride. I don't know. I like roller coasters, so I'm in like Facebooks about various roller coasters. But yeah, that one's closing down next in January, and they haven't given us a reopen date, so I'm nervous. So, but they said revamp.
Okay, well then I'm gonna wait to go.
You're gonna add extra
held
Brendan
up.
Fraser to it, I guess.
I just went on my honeymoon, and I was like, we have to go to the Mummy. That was like Harry Potter World, yes, the Mummy, and I was so excited. So excited. That and E.T. I went on the E.T. ride too, and I was so excited for that.
That's a good one.
That E.T. one is horrifying.
It's a very strange concept for a ride.
Well,
remember that part that like you don't really remember much about all the other aliens?
So it's technically based on the book E.T., like the second book. So they released a book about it, and that's what that ride is.
Yeah, it's like the sequel book, which is so weird because we had that in our elementary school, and I remember looking at it being like, "What is this? Why is this
going
exist?"
on?" Yeah,
when I was like 10, I didn't understand why this was here. And then I went on the ride, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's real now! This is horrifying." It was the first ride I went on when I went there, and I went on like the Harry Potter ride from like 3 years ago, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
God! Yes. The rides are very. Not that we're a roller coaster podcast, but they're very interesting now. The way like the newer rides, like the new, not even like the 3 years ago Harry Potter ride. There's a ride that just came out like a year ago, and it's so interesting because it's like 4D mixed with LED screens. It's very cool.
Is that the Hagrid motorbike one?
The Hagrid motorbike one's really fun. I really like that one. I did it twice. Do not recommend it in the rain. Like if you're in line, like if it's raining, don't go on it because it hurts and ruins the rest of your day. So I literally, like, as we were like boarding, it started pouring down rain, and they normally stop it, but they were like, "You're already on, go," and it was so painful.
I mean, you got to wait for like 6 hours to get on those rides.
Yeah,
so like I said, we're gonna make it worth your while by pelting you for actual rain.
But I digress. We are not a roller coaster or amusement park podcast.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Sequel podcast.
But yeah, do we want to talk about some other, like, situations that we need comfort movies? I have nap movies. I don't know about you guys, but
ooh, nap movies.
I have movies that I definitely put on if I want to, take a nap. That's definitely Beetlejuice for me. I don't know why, but the music in the very beginning of the movie just puts me right to sleep. And also Pride and Prejudice, but that's like also like an uber comfort like feeling for me.
I think as often as I talk to you, at least once a week when I talk to you, you're watching Pride and Prejudice.
It's a movie and a book because it's all the movies. It doesn't matter which iteration, 95, 2005, the 1930s, I think. I'm double checking on that. I think it's 1930s. It doesn't matter which one. I am always happy to watch 1940, Mr. Darcy and Lizzie Bennet. Like I can put it on all the time. My husband hates it. If he comes home and it's on the TV, he's like, no, turn it off. He's like, I'm done. I can't watch it anymore. And I'm like, but I'm so happy. It's the same thing for me with the book though. Like I can read that no matter what situation. I'm happy. I try and contain it to just a January reading. Like I try and only read it once in a year, be good about it. But what are some other comfort films for you guys? I mean, maybe I'm weird and have situational comfort films, but that's me.
Yeah, I don't really have situations. These kind of all are just, they all just bring me joy, I guess.
All right, well, what's your next one?
Well, neither of you have seen it, but Big Fish, which is a Tim Burton movie. It's probably the least Tim Burton of all of his movies, but I love that movie so much. It's like, it's a guy who's trying to get to know his dad better because he knows he's dying. And so his dad's telling him like his life story, but it's like so fantastical and like out there and like it's like there's no way any of this is true, but it's like kind of one of those stories where like there's so much truth in his lies that that's kind of the way that he had to tell it. And it's just a lovely movie. The cast is great and like the places it brings you to, like all of the scenes are just so cool and different and like it's like I don't know, I would put it up with like I just lost the name of one of the most well-known movies of all time. Forrest Gump.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Just kind of like in the way that it is like just kind of like such an interesting life journey like Forrest goes on, and his is kind of like very, it's like strange but still grounded. This one is very fantastical but still like kind of a similar vibe, I think. But yeah, Big Fish is amazing.
I need to see it. I'm sorry, I have not watched it yet. To be fair, I listened to a podcast by the writer of Big Fish, John August. So I've heard him talk a lot, and I tweeted a question to him once, and he answered my question. So there you go. I've briefly spoken, but he does that on Twitter. He answers screenwriter questions. If you ask him, he'll be like, "Yeah, here's your answer."
Oh,
so,
interesting.
But I've never seen it. I've only heard him talk about the movie occasionally. He also wrote Aladdin, in case anybody's curious. Not the original Aladdin, the new Aladdin.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, two very different films, I guess. I've never seen either of them, so
interesting. Well, Darrell, what's another? I haven't seen it. I love Ewan McGregor, and that's just a film I never got around to seeing. I don't know why.
Believe you.
I don't know why.
He's so delightful in it.
I guess maybe when I was like discovering Ewan McGregor as a teenage girl, it wasn't on like Netflix, so I guess I didn't get, because like I remember watching The Men Who Stare at Goats with Ewan McGregor, The Beginners, all those movies because they were on Netflix. So I got to like watch them because back in the day there wasn't a billion streaming services you could choose from. There was only Netflix. So yeah. That was it. So
my backup for this slot was another Tim Burton, which was Edward Scissorhands, because I feel like that's his other very like more feel good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
creepy,
Big Fish won it out.
Yeah, a lot less violent than another one of my comfort movies. Oh my goodness. What about you, Darrell? What's another one of your comfort films?
I think I would say that one of them is, I'm looking at two of them right now, and I'm like, which one is more comfort movie for me? And I feel like How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey is like probably the one, because that's one I'll watch. That's one I watch every year if I can. And I've just seen it so many times. I remember like a very specific memory of asking my mom to get me that movie for like Christmas or for my birthday, and I was like, no, the real one. Because I didn't know how to say live action because there's like the animated one. I was like, no, the real one. And it took me a long time to understand how to articulate that. But when I got it, I was very, very excited. And it's just like, it's one of those movies I think of a lot. It's always on my mind. Like Jim Carrey is in green furry costume. It's constantly on my brain. So I don't know. That's one that always makes me feel good just because it's so. I think that one's more nostalgic for me. It just reminds me of when I actually like enjoyed the holidays. So yeah, that definitely is it. And it's just amazing that Ron Howard was the guy who was like, yeah, I'll make that movie. That makes sense for my career. But I mean, hey, I think it worked out fine.
Oh,
I know people didn't like it
100%.
at the time. So
Oh yeah.
No, it is such a good movie. I remember I'd seen it a few times like when I was younger and like through the years, but I watched it like again, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, and I was just like multiple times throughout the movie, I was like, man, I forgot how good this movie is. This movie is so good. Like I was laughing at like everything. It's so good.
yeah, it holds up.
That's one that like I love to just like listen to. Like he's just so clever in that film. And The Grinch was always one of my favorite like cartoons growing up watching at Christmas. So like having a more, I don't know, a longer version of it and with, humor made it so much better for me. I loved it.
And so quotable. It's so,
Yes.
but what will I wear?
Where? That's it. I'm not going. So good. To me, it's the epitome of a Jim Carrey movie. Like,
Oh,
it
he
always,
is comfort.
Yeah.
yeah. I love Bruce Almighty. That's another one of like his that just makes me so happy. But yeah, speaking of biblical movies, what a great transition. One of my favorite comfort movies, and I don't know but The Prince of Egypt is one of mine. I don't know, it's just one of those films that I love to watch because it's gorgeous and I love the music and I love everything about that film, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy for weird, I don't know why. I'm not religious, and it's just one of those films that I think it's the animation and the voice work in that film. It's just so well done, and it's one of those movies that I can just put on and appreciate and just like listen to and be happy. It's like the soundtrack is the same way. People like, I'll roll up to like work and I'm listening to like, the plagues coming down and Ray Fiennes singing about how he'll never have his brother again. And I'm just like rocking out, and like, and I'm like, yes, like bring down the flames on Egypt. People are like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, nothing. Have any of you guys seen Prince of Egypt?
I saw it with you.
Oh. Oh, well then. Awkward.
We watched it at, I think, your old apartment. Me, you, Matt, and Ross.
Yeah, I remember that. We watched that and I think House Bunny.
Yes, but Matt had never
combination.
seen it. I had seen it when I was really young, and I like remembered watching it when I was young, but I hadn't like seen it since. And then Matt had never seen it, and he was blown away. He's like he loves those kinds of movies. Like his favorite Disney movies, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, because like the music,
yes.
So good.
The music, yeah. So he loved it, and I love it too. I mean, it's great. I think a lot of what makes that movie so beautiful is that soundtrack, man. There's so much like passion behind it, and it's only just amplified by
that one. It won an animation Oscar, didn't it, for best soundtrack or best song, best original song,
probably
or something?
Best original song.
Yeah. I think it's like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, I think.
Wow.
It's
Like if that doesn't tell you what year it was.
Yeah.
I saw the movie, like, I've seen it exactly, I think, one time, back when it basically came out, because I never owned it on VHS, and it wasn't one of the movies that we, like, stole from Blockbuster, basically, either. But I did have,
just
like,
go
this...
see the 10 Commandments?
We did go see
we
Ten
did see
Commandments.
Well, it's
so
based off of that.
I've technically seen it more
It's
than
definitely
once.
based off the book and the Bible. But
Yeah,
that
read
Ten
the
Commandments
anime before you read the manga before you watch the anime.
Well, I'm just saying, if you don't want to read the Bible, you've got
or watch the 4-hour movie. You could definitely watch Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, that's a lot faster than reading 2 pages of the Bible.
Oh my
I
god.
have, like, the storybook version of Prince of Egypt, but it was, like, the storybook version based off of the movie version. So it had, like, pictures from the movie. And I read that. That was, like, one of my favorite books as a kid, but I only watched the movie, like, one time. So I only vaguely remember images, but, like, still images. Nothing, no animation.
I love it. Love it. We're gonna watch it soon. Yeah. So do we have any other comfort films we kind of want to chat about real quick before I kind of ask another question?
That's basically it for me. I think I covered the ones that matter.
Okay.
Also,
Sarah?
you threw out Hunchback of Notre Dame, so I'm kind of like, oh yes.
Yeah, that one.
I kind of want to watch that now.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
I will honorable mention The Princess Bride because that's on there for me, and I'll briefly touch on Ferris Bueller's Day Off because that's just like my friendship comfort movie. Like just I feel like you need one of those, and I think that used to be like Harry Potter or something, like, but yeah.
Ferris Bueller is a good one. That's like one I can quote nonstop. Like I can do the whole monologue. I can, I don't believe in any ism, monologue. I can do the whole thing. That was like my go-to when we were in theater. I could like throw that one out there real quick, but Ferris, like who didn't want to be Ferris Bueller growing up? Like and we all were Cameron Fry. Like like
I wanted to be Sloane.
Of course you did. I definitely wanted to be Ferris Bueller. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I just think the way they go like above and beyond is just so heartwarming. Great movie.
When you said friendship movie, it immediately triggered something in my brain. I was like, oh, I actually have one more. And I'm only going to throw this out here because it's the newest movie on the list. It's Luca. I've seen Luca. I've seen that like 3 or 4 times since it came out.
It was so good. I loved it.
It's such a great, like, talk about friendship movies. It's like, yes, this is perfect. This is just a perfect film about 2 little sea monsters just try to be friends, and their friendship gets tested because they get jealous of stuff. It's just, I love it.
Cute.
It makes me feel so good. It's like
that one's a warm and fuzzy one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I tried to turn it on for my kids at school, and they were like, "Not having it." They were like, "No."
Oh.
We're on Mulan right now. That's what we're watching. So.
Same energy, yes.
Yeah, same energy, We watched it 4 times already this week. No, I'm kidding. Because that would be ridiculous. It's a Monday. We do schoolwork on Mondays. No, I'm kidding.
But you could watch Mulan.
But we could watch Mulan. My honorable mentions would be While You Were Sleeping, and a controversial one that Sarah is yelling at me about. It's As Above, So Below. That's
you.
Yes, that's a comfort film. That's definitely actually a film I watch on planes. Don't ask me why. Don't at me.
You really do have a comfort film for every occasion.
I do. Yeah. White Christmas is one that I like to watch when I'm feeling like I want to feel like family. That one's, mine. Probably, I guess, friendship one. I don't know. But yeah, While You Were Sleeping also is a good one because I like Bill Pullman, Sandra Bullock. That one's weird and controversial because she definitely takes advantage of a man falling into a coma, and lies
Is that
and
what
says,
that's about?
yeah. So like she's like in love with this man that she sees every day. She's like a toll booth person. And no, she like takes tickets for the train, and
Okay.
she's like in love with this man she's never spoken to. He's only ever said like have a good day to her, and he falls onto the train platform and hits his head, and she saves him from being hit by a train. And because she gets like all wrapped up into it, you know, she gets him to the hospital, and she like casually says like we were going to get married or something like that, you know, under her breath. And because of like, you know, she couldn't follow him, but now that someone hears her and thinks that they're engaged, and then the family gets involved, and it's like super cute, and like definitely don't know if it could be made today. Just I don't know, it's a weird one because yeah, and then she falls in love with his brother. Spoiler alert, but it's been out since 1995. So
it sounds like Wonder Woman 1984. It's like the same plot, basically. It's like we're together now, strange man who looks now like my lover from 30 years ago. So cool.
I love
movie.
it.
Good.
Yeah, same movie, definitely same movie. But what about like films that like once were comfort films and now they're not really anymore? I can name up a couple, but I'd love to hear your guys' first.
I'll let
Darrell?
Sarah go first on this one, actually.
Okay.
I would say, I don't know how specific I can really be, but a lot of Disney like doesn't bring me the same like, oh, I gotta watch that 500 times as it used to. Like the classics and stuff. But that's kind of what like I gravitated towards when I was younger. Like I had the whole collection on VHS, and like I'd lay them out on my floor and put them in alphabetical order.
Nerd.
That yeah.
What a nerd.
I've always been. That and like I feel like I used to really, really love dumb comedies, like the worst comedies, like those were like my junior high school thing. Like, and some of them are still great, like Pick a Destiny, amazing. It's ridiculous, but amazing. But also like Bench Warmers, Grandma's Boy, like those kinds of movies.
I love it. Yeah, I have like Jaws used to be a comfort film for me, but now that I've gotten older, I think it's just because it's now my favorite film of all time that it has lost that comfort appeal to me. I don't know, maybe I've just seen it like it's not just something I put on anymore. In college, I was really big into Pitch Perfect, and that's like, but the original, not the one I was in, or my husband were in.
Casual Drops, not the one I was
Casual
in.
Drop, you know, my husband has a clear shot with Anna Kendrick, just saying. So he's like almost famous. And I stand behind the main character in one moment. But they shot it at LSU. For anybody listening, they shot Pitch Perfect 2 and 3, I think, at LSU. So when we were in college, like that's what we did on weekends was to shoot movies as extras, and so Pitch Perfect was one of them. But yeah, the first one just used to make me laugh. Maybe it's because it came out and she's supposed to be a freshman and I was a freshman, so I like identified with the character. I don't know. That one, Moulin Rouge, was a big one that I used to be into. And You've Got Mail, that one's another big one. That one was one I would put on when I was like really upset. You've Got Mail is like a warm and fuzzy film to me, like Meg Ryan, you know, talking about bouquets of pencils and I don't know. Like
Meg Ryan stuff.
Yeah, you know, the normal Meg Ryan stuff. That one definitely used to. It's not so much. I think Sleepless in Seattle will be my comfort Meg Ryan movie. But yeah. What about you, Darrell?
I think I would say that like every Star Wars movie, like I love Star Wars. It's my favorite thing in the world, basically. As you can, if you're watching the video, you can see my Clone Wars shirt with Ahsoka and the clones who would eventually, betray her. Anyway, yes, Star Wars movies. Just because like I've seen them so many times, but I get invested every time. So it's less comfort and more like, I have to sit here and watch this. What am I going to see this time? Like, what random thing did George Lucas put in the background of Revenge of the Sith that I missed that I need to catch on this time?
That's like a fun one to watch with other people too, because like you and I were rewatching it, and we stopped, I think, in Solo, which we should get back on. But watching the prequels with you was so much fun. Like it's one of those like you can just rag on, and I think we talk about movies a lot that like they're just great to like just shoot the shit with friends and just be like, what was he doing?
Exactly. And it's like, I love those movies, but also like these movies do not work, but also I love these movies. They're so dumb at times, and it's great. It's just wonderful. But they're not really comfort movies anymore. Mm-hmm. Especially since
Twilight.
Now I keep thinking, Twilight?
Yeah, Twilight definitely. It probably was a comfort film.
But like, with Harry Potter, never watch it alone.
Yeah, Twilight's
Twilight
together
with a friend.
Yeah. Harry Potter number 5. Number 5 and number 3 are like my comfort films, which is interesting because I hated 5 growing up. Like that was like my least favorite, but now it's probably like I'm like, yes, bring down the government's control of our schooling. But then also like Remus Lupin and Sirius Black are my favorites. So
3
is
5
3 and 5 makes sense, I guess. I don't know.
3 is still my favorite.
Do we have anything? 3 is the best one out of all of them.
Yeah,
like if we're gonna get into controversial opinion, 3 is.
It's not even controversial, honestly.
No, it's the only good one. Did you see Chris Columbus wants to make the Cursed Child?
I heard that, yeah.
With the original trio, which I don't think they'll ever do.
I don't think so. I think they're done. I think they're ready to stop thinking about Harry Potter for
They don't want to be any more Harry Potter. No, they're done.
Yeah. I don't want any more Harry Potter, honestly. It's like, y'all have done too much.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. The new they dropped like a poster for what is it, Crimes of Grindelwald, or the whatever the next one is.
Oh yeah, the third in the 5 movie series.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, because they've recast.
Matt
listen, if we start talking about these, we're gonna go from comfort to
you know what, that's right. We just save this.
Okay. We'll pause. One. Maybe we'll talk about it next, but because I think we all have opinions on those films.
I think we can all specifically talk about that last one.
Yeah, y'all got. I mean, what have you guys seen lately? Like, I know. We haven't really kind of talked about like movies that we're watching. I just did a huge recap on Daniel Craig's James Bond, which I'd love to do an episode about one day, because I know Sarah is not as big of a James Bond aficionado as I would say I am. But yeah, what are you guys watching right now?
I saw the French Dispatch, and I'd have to put it in my top 3 for Wes Anderson.
Wow.
It was so good. Like, it's very different, and it's basically like you're watching 3 short films.
Okay.
But like it was so brilliant. Like, I mean, you probably have to watch it 5 or 6 times to catch everything, because there's so much going on, and like most of it is in black and white, but like the payoff when it switches to color is so amazing. It's like worth the wait. It was so clever and so brilliant and so beautiful. And Tilda Swinton probably has the best like of her life. That's the best character she's ever done. It's so funny. I laughed more in that Wes Anderson movie than I've laughed in most Wes Anderson movies. It was so funny.
Okay.
It was great.
All right, I'll have to go check that out. Yeah. I watched No Time to Die. That was why I was doing my Daniel Craig recap, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I cried like a baby. I was a mess, and you know what? I'll leave it at that, because freaking love James Bond, and I love Daniel Craig's James Bond, and I'm not going into it. We'll save it for our Daniel Craig James Bond episode that we'll eventually make Sarah do and Darrell do, because I don't know if you're as big of a James Bond fan as I am, but
oh yeah, I am.
We're each gonna pick
I've seen them
one.
all.
No.
There are 26 movies. We gotta pick 3 each.
No,
From
what we're
each-
doing
From each
we're-
Bond.
No, we're talking about, we're gonna separate it out by the Bond. We're gonna do a Sean Connery episode. We're gonna do a, Pierce Brosnan, and I hate Pierce Brosnan's Bond.
You hate Pierce Brosnan?
Literally the worst James Bond is to Pierce Brosnan. That's
And
saying
then
a lot.
after we do that, we're gonna do an Austin Powers episode.
That's fine. We can do it.
We
That's
should do
fine.
that. I've only seen the first one, so
I
I'd love to
have
see
never
the other
seen an
2.
Austin Powers movie.
What?
Really?
Yes.
My dad was obsessed. I've seen all 3 of
I know
them.
the
so
like
many
the
times.
that thing, but
Dr.
that's about
Evil.
it. Yeah, I know that part.
That's my shitty comedies. Like
Okay.
comfort movies is probably because of my dad. He just loves that kind of humor. But
Okay.
man, Austin Powers.
But yeah, I think we need to do a deep dive. I think we're due for one. We haven't done a deep dive in a while. So I'm feeling that maybe because I could talk about Sean Connery for hours. I can talk about Daniel Craig for hours. Even a Timothy Dalton. I could throw a Timothy
I love
Dalton in
Timothy
there.
Dalton.
That's a classic. And even Lazenby has some fun ones.
His one. He has a
yeah,
fun one.
fun one.
A single movie that he did.
But you know
But
what? It's
one
a
of the
good
best
one.
movies.
It's one of the best
one of the better
ones.
So, and that's,
We
kinda
can
how
throw
I'm
all the
let go.
one-offs, in there. We can do that.
Oh, Never
but-
Say Never Again and all that
Yeah.
kind of jazz.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I was even talking about me and my husband were talking about best Bond themes. Okay, this is not. I digress. Darrell, what have you been watching lately?
Oh, in the past week I've watched basically nothing. But the most recent movie I watched that I thought was, I'll just bring it because it's new, was Eternals.
Ooh,
Which was,
that's why I watched Black Widow, so I could go
Oh.
see Eternals.
You don't need to see Black Widow to watch Eternals, believe me.
My
you'll-
husband put his foot down. So
Okay, well,
he said we're
Eternals
not putting it off
is-
anymore.
Well, I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, this does not deserve the hate it's getting, but also I was like, it's not a great movie. It's not a
I wasn't
bad. It's
expecting
just
it to be
the
great.
the pacing is just weird for me. I think
Oh,
the
okay.
pacing is really strange, but it has I don't know, it has characters I really really like, but
Mhm.
also has characters I'm like, you're so powerful. What do you mean you're not allowed to interfere? You literally
That's what
control
makes me
people's
mad. Is the
minds.
concept of the movie just makes me angry. I'm like, no, this is a retcon. You can't retcon and be like, oh, we can't. It's it's a very Star Trek-y thing for them to do.
It's from the comics, so it does make sense. And when you watch, you'll be like, oh, okay, that works. I
You
guess.
can't interfere when the whole planet gets eradicated. No,
It's just
no.
because of it's their mission. They're literally like, no, when you watch the movie, you're like, oh,
Okay.
that's the reason why they did
Okay,
that. But
if you say so.
yeah, it's an interesting movie. Philosophically, it's a fascinating film. I love
Okay.
it philosophically because they ask those questions where Marvel's not supposed to ask that kind of question, but
Mhm,
okay. Also, it has the first MCU sex scene, which
Ooh,
yeah, I wasn't a fan. It made me very uncomfortable because I was like, I did not expect to see this in a Marvel film.
interesting.
It has been the last time we saw anything close to a sex scene was Tony jumping in bed of a girl in Iron Man 1.
Oh
And,
yeah, you're right.
For a split second, and I was just like, "Oh, this is."
You don't
this is
get any
weird.
sex scenes in Thor, and there's no innuendos or anything.
I mean, there might
No?
be innuendos, but there's definitely not a scene where two people just don't have clothes on.
Oh, I guess yeah, you're right.
Except the Hulk on accident. Bruce Banner's oh, my clothes are on because I
Yeah.
turned into a monster. But
There's a lot of trailers coming out. She-Hulk, the TV show, Hawkeye. I'm a really behind, I think. No, I'm actually caught up now, except for Eternals. I've caught up with all. I've watched all What If. I watched Black Widow finally, which I was surprised I enjoyed because Sarah wrote it off very terribly for me. I think no, maybe it was Sarah's husband. I don't know. Someone told me it was terrible and not to watch it. And
I loved it. I thought it was great.
but Florence Pugh
Oh,
made that
We liked
movie.
It was
Yeah.
somebody else.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I didn't love it.
Maybe that was you
I
just said you
don't
didn't love
really
it.
care about Black Widow that much.
Yeah,
but,
that was my thing is I didn't care. I was mad because they could have done a lot more with Black Widow throughout the entire series and we never got it.
Mhm.
So I just felt like I hated her because well, it's probably just I don't like
It's
Scarlett
just a little too late,
Johansson,
so,
and
yeah.
I didn't
yeah,
like her until Infinity War and
Yeah.
Endgame.
And then she died.
yeah,
then
and that's
she
like the thing I
dies.
think I hated about Black Widow was like, why would you write this movie and then you're like, oh, and 4 years later she dies for no. Don't get me
was a
started
good
on
death.
Infinity War.
It
No,
was a good death.
no.
I mean, Clint should have gone, but Clint also had to do his TV
Kill
show.
off the
Sorry.
morally ambiguous character. Like,
It
I'm
was
sorry.
better than bye, daughter.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Gamora.
And also, they're both morally ambiguous. They be
I ge-
murdering people.
I guess. But like they start off Infinity War with or Endgame with him being like a terrible person. I don't know. I guess they're both in big whatever. Florence Pugh made the movie and David Harbour I love and
Yeah.
yeah.
They were great. Those two were great.
Yeah. But whatever. So y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about? We definitely need to do a Marvel. We need to do a James Bond series. We need to do a Marvel series. Y'all are just seeing the behind the scenes stuff. And I don't know if Sarah will cut it out. She probably won't, but this is all the stuff we talk about when we end the recording. Yeah. But I think that's all we have to talk about today. I hope do we have any bucket list movies that we want to throw on our movie bucket list? What would we say?
That's true, yes.
That is definitely our main point of our podcast. I would say out of mine, The Mummy, Prince of Egypt, and I mean I feel like all mine should be on a bucket list, but I would say The Mummy, Pride and Prejudice, every version of it.
I'm gonna put the 95 one.
Fine. The 95
on the
version.
Letterboxd list.
Colin Firth's Pride and Prejudice is my favorite. Twister is a definite. Prince of Egypt, yes. And I'm gonna keep it for comfort films. For the ultimate comfort films, because I think As Above, So Below should be on your list, but not for comfort films, because that's me. But yeah. Prince of Egypt, yeah. Those are my bucket lists.
I would definitely put on Lost in Translation, just because in general you should. Again, it's weird to say it's a comfort movie. Maybe you'll feel the same way. If you do, let me know. Nobody will let me know, I'm sure. But anyway, put it on your list. And also just some of the ones I talked about. And How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So come on. You're missing out on one of Jim Carrey's like best performances ever, just as a big green monster. What do you tell me you haven't watched that? Go check it out.
What about you, Sarah? Do you have any bucket list movies? Actually, you probably have the most out of all of us.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna say Ponyo for sure. I can promise upon first watch that it will bring you such joy. It's adorable and you just want to pinch your little fish cheeks, and it's the best thing. Big Fish is gorgeous and happy and lovely and such a great family film. And then The Princess Bride and Ferris Bueller, if you haven't seen them yet, shame on you. They are classics. And
Princess Bride is
by
the perfect
everyone.
film.
Yeah.
It is literally the perfect film. And I think I was reading like an article about it. Like it could have gone terribly wrong, but everybody loved that film so much that it is the perfect film. So definitely agree. Maybe we should talk about The Princess Bride one day, like more in depth and,
It's great, but yeah.
So, and Ferris Bueller. Oh, that's another one. What a great character. He could have been terrible. Like he is he is like if you look, he is legitimately terrible from an adult perspective.
I mean, he's like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. He's a terrible human being.
Zach Morris is trash. I love those videos. I love those videos where like Zach is terrible. But yeah, Ferris Bueller could have gone that way, and he still, I mean, like whereas Zach Morris is definitely like in retrospect is terrible, Ferris Bueller is still pretty solid of a good character.
You still want to be him.
Yeah, I still want to be, you know, Ferris Bueller. I don't think anybody wants to be Zach Morris anymore.
Only sociopaths want to be Zach Morris.
But I think that's all the time we have for today. Not that we are on a time slot, but we try and cap these at a pretty good time length. My name is Gracie, and you can find me at Gracie May with a Y and 3 E's. Anywhere you see fit. Please engage with me on Twitter. I love to get into, Twitter arguments and conversations and, debates, if you will. Darrell, where can we find you?
You can find me at Darrell on Twitter. That's Darth as in Vader, Maul, Sidious, take your pick. Darrell, Darrell.
2 R's, 2 L's.
Yes.
Sarah, what about you?
What about you? Snotty_person on Twitter and snotty.person on Instagram. And both of those are snotty with an IE instead of a Y.
And check us out for the latest movie news, which we are terrible about posting, and I will get better. I know I say it, everyone, but we will get better about movie news. Sarah is definitely the person who runs our Instagram and Twitter the most, and she is definitely the best at it. And both Darrell and I are terrible at contributing.
Yeah, we are.
You're kind of throwing me under the bus.
No, I am terrible. No, Sarah is
you're
good.
Doing the good thing.
She does all the great pubbing.
I'm the only one doing anything. I'm just not doing much.
Oh man, I feel bad now. Maybe it's I feel bad that I'm not contributing. But we do great. We just ran a contest. Maybe we'll do another one. And thanks for all those who entered for that. But yeah, check us out at the Popcorn Bucket List on Instagram and at TPB_podcast on Twitter, or just find us. Use the search bar, you guys. Like, it takes 2 seconds. And tune into our YouTube channel if you want to see our beautiful faces. We'll be uploading our video version podcast most likely on Fridays after this podcast airs. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys next week around. I think we'll see you guys after Thanksgiving. But yeah, see you guys later. Bye.
Farewell.
Bye.
Farewell. Very fancy.
Thank you.